Hi, Colleen Schmidt from Divination Counseling Service. Today I want to present a new moon chart. I normally write new moon charts for my newsletter, and so each month the people of my subscribing list of newsletter for the newsletter of my subscription list, excuse me, they get this every month for years now. And what I do is asteroids, so sun sign based asteroids, kind of general, but showing what asteroids are affecting what sun signs are in what sun signs, I should say, and things that people could run into just by energy attraction. So rather general, but I've been doing this for a number of years. Today, I'm doing this video as an add-on to that article. I wanted to add this in because we're going through some incredible history right now, things that I believe people will be studying for a millennial. And I think that everything that's going on right now is vital to our studies in astrology because it's there. It is astrology come to life. And so there's many things going on now that as an astrologer we knew it was coming. We didn't know how it would be, but we knew it was coming. And so I want to look at the new moon charts now, not only as something that I write articles about, which apparently does pretty well. They're general, but they do give an idea of what a person could look for in any given sign or moon sign or rising sign. So in this particular case, I'm going to move to our chart. So we have a chart here that is a new moon event chart. So this is not an eclipse chart. This is just a new moon chart. But I really have this, particularly with this Aries Mars, and I did talk about that. I've done a video on the Aries Mars. The Aries Mars, which here is in the 6th house, and again, not so much about that today, okay? But the fact that that's going on is like an exclamation point on top of other things that are happening. The other one that I want to point out, all of these are where they are the strongest. We got Mars in Aries. We have the moon in Cancer. Okay, so that this, even though this is our second new moon here, because the first one was 0 degrees and now we're at 28 degrees. So it's our second Capricorn new moon. This time we're at 28 degrees, so we're coming to the end of a cycle. So this particular chart is talking about the end of a cycle, and it really is talking about the end of the cycle because of the place that it's in, which is, if you can see this, here is the midheaven. This darkened line is our midheaven. And when you look at this midheaven, you can't help but notice the close proximity of the moon, the sun, Volcanus. So again, the first thing you do is you really just look at what's here. And there's a lot. There's a lot. I'm going to get to some of this asteroid stuff in a bit, but just to kind of reiterate, the moon is getting ready to cross into the future, the midheaven. And the 9th house represents change, particularly of systems. Okay, so we think of the structures more or less in the future, the 10th, but the system itself would be the 9th. So here we are, and we're just embarking on this 3-degree, 32-minute, 28 degrees, so very close, within that 10-degree orb that I talk about when you're talking angles. And so that's amazing. Okay, so let's just move on, because that's not the only thing I want to point out here. Let's go down here to this 20 degrees Neptune. It is also in a place where it is really strong. Okay, so Neptune here in the 5th is very, very strong. It's retrograde, but again, Neptune, Pisces, Neptune, that's the ruler. Neptune is the ruler, okay? Then we move to the other one, which is important to note here, which is going to the Saturn, which is retrograde back into Capricorn, where it rules. Now notice 28 degrees, 28 degrees, and yes, they are in opposition. So if I were to change this to a dial, what we then have down here, 28 degrees, oh, there's Saturn, there it is. I love this. The moon, the sun, the ascendant, the Saturn. Okay, basically, and that's telling a lot right there. That, I mean, you could just read just that, and it would tell you a big story. There'd be a story in that. Okay, and let's talk about it a little bit. I mean, the moon is our emotion, the sun is our drive, and our moon and our, so they're together, and it's like we're motivated, we're direction, we're aiming right, and the ascendant and Saturn are, the ascendant is square, and Saturn is in opposition, which means that they are not in good aspect to those things. It kind of means the environment, the restrictions imposed on us by our situation, whether it be people that are leaders, bosses, parents, but also just our own tasks, our own maturing, our own responsibilities, our opposite, where we want to go, and our emotional. So that's a little bit limiting. Okay. Also realize that Saturn to the sun increases the amount of responsibility, whereas Saturn to the moon also inhibits emotions. Okay, now they're in opposition. That's better when that's a conjunction. In opposition, some people it might work, that they won't be as, and other people, and that's why I say look to the chart. So we look to the chart and we say, okay, we got this like thing going on here in the environment, 28 degrees. I forgot to mention that was 28 degrees as well. 28 degrees, 28 degrees, 28 degrees. That's a fairly significant chart. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So mathematically, that causes a lot of dynamics right there. Now, other things that are going on in the ascendant is the fact that one of the reasons why there's a lot, this asteroid here is Asteria, and it's about prayer, and it's about when things are bad, how we might reflect in a really deep way. But it's really about prayer and meditation and things of that nature as well. And you see this right here on this ascendant with this Apollon. Well, are there a lot of people praying? I think that we'll look to the mega churches. I think there's going to be some problems. I think that we look at Apollon, and that's also businesses, and the fact that businesses are probably going to have to close up again in this July 20th chart, and it's about reopening things, and it's about how it has to be careful. It has to be, but you get this bullying, and you get this sense that, and I got this with this Volcanus, which is 1 degree of Leo. So as we go to the 1 degree of Leo mark, you notice that Volcanus sits right there by that 3 degree Leo midheaven, and that, that when you look at Volcanus and you look at Toro is the bully. 28 degrees, descendant. Does that tell us that we're looking at bullies, that somebody is bullying us, that we are being bullied? And you have to look at that, because I think that, when I see people, and again, I think masks are important. So before I even get started, I'm not political. This is not about politics, but I'm going to be really honest with you. I wear a mask. A blood type and over 60. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that foolish. What I find aggravating are those people that think it's against their rights to not, why should we have to wear a mask? That's against my right. Well, what about my rights, okay? I'd like the right to be able to go to the supermarket too, but unfortunately, if I find that there's a lot of people around a situation, I've been antisocial my whole life. I'm kind of an introvert. I don't go out. But the reality that some people would really go to the extreme to pull the rights card when they're a social health hazard. Realize that this is a social health issue. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's a social thing. So, in any event, the way those people are behaving, wow, it's amazing because that's a bully. I've seen some heavy duty bullying in the press. So realize that one of the things that we're dealing with in this environment is the bullies. And they're going to be found in businesses as well. And there's a lot of them. So true. So realize that Apollon is many. It's spreading out. It's also talking about our expansion. And like I say, this is the July 20th chart. And I do believe that the shutdowns at this point, one of the things I think is that people are looking at it differently. And so, like, for example, I'm in a state that's very strict, and I'm happy that we've been, because now our numbers are not going up when others are. And I don't care what other people say about our governor. I think he did a hell of a job. And the reality is, when we do go out in my city, particularly, people are careful, and it makes everyone feel safer. And I think that's what this is about. We are one. We are in this together. And the opening up and not opening up, you know, is how are we enabling people? And how much is not wearing masks about pride? Stupid time to be prideful. But that's how much our egos can get us in trouble. In any event, we're moving on. The Pluto is on this angle. Also pretty strong where it is. Now, Pluto and Saturn are both retrograde. That means that their energy is more subtle. It's still at play. It's just maybe not as obvious. Not that it's happening in secret, but it's happening perhaps in more of a undercurrent than it is overt. The thing that concerns me is that Pluto and Saturn are together, and this is the base of the chart, and even though they're retrograde, it is definitely shouting the changes of our structures. That there are structures in our system that are not working, and they need to have attention drawn to them. That's very true, and I think that's very true whether you're trying to deal, we've had some things where we're dealing with a health business, okay, and of course we do have the virus, I understand, but the amazing amount of times a ball can be dropped in one system is mind-blowing, and that is a system that is not functioning well. So again, many things are not functioning well. The fact that we have this Taureau here, and I believe this is Demeter here. So let me go to a place where I can look that up. I know it's cheating a bit, but it's hard to see with so many things on, there we go. I believe that that is not Demeter, but at, oh my, I think another way I can find out, let's go quicker. This is one of the issues that I have. I see the asteroid, I see its bottom, but I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. We know it's not Demeter. Minerva keeps coming to mind. Let me try that again. I think it's Minerva. And this is what I have to go through to find that out. It is Minerva. Minerva right on the midheaven. Could have looked right there. 26 minutes apart. Very, very good. Basically, is strategies. And the strategies, because we have to live differently. The strategies are going rather slow, or the strategy could be to slow down the virus. We're going to have to live with this for a while. I've mentioned that before. But that means living with it. Doesn't mean hiding in houses. We have to figure out how to function. But see, that's the problem. You do have to figure out how to function. That's why the mask is so important. And in order for us to, the pressure is to use strategy to move forward, and to move forward in a way that slows down the virus. So we're still slowing down. Even the way we open, we have to slow down because there are still so many questions. Now, this is, and it also is going to question about the withdrawal. Those are not on the angle because remember, we're going to stay within 3 degrees. So if, this would go all the way up to 13, and this actually starts at 23. Okay? Hopefully that made sense. In any event, this is a unique chart because of all the 28 degrees, which tells us we're at the end of a cycle. It also reminds us that, which we are in many ways, on many levels, we are at the end of a cycle. The Aries actually is marking a new cycle. It's also by placement here in that 6th house. It's also about us aggressively looking at how we handle our day-to-day activities, which is actually pretty wonderful. And the fact that Neptune has fallen here in the 5th house and the house of children is that I do believe that in July 20th we are going to start hearing more about children and what are we going to do about the children and the disease. So Neptune is the disease. It's about the disease. Look at this at 28, Achilles heel. Could be the way we live is our Achilles heel, the way we express ourselves. It's retrograde. But again, and not an angle. These are just things that we're going to notice that as we go through our day. And I smile because this hasn't even started to take effect yet. It will, though, after the full moon. I like to get these things out early because of that. My newsletter goes out on the full moon because I want them to look at the next new moon, because those are the headlines that are starting to appear. The way astrology works is that by the time the 20th comes, the actual new moon, it's in the full throttle of it. It's the full throes of it. But you can see it coming in as it comes in, just as you'll be able to see it going out when it's going out, because all of these energies are still very much in play. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. We are moving forward. Change is upon us. We're still dealing. But here's another health of leaders, health of officials. Look at that. Again, not the angle of a chart, just something that's in the chart. So when an astrologer reads a chart, especially this encompassing, I could probably sit here and talk this chart with you for hours, but that would be overwhelming to everybody concerned. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you like, share, subscribe, do all of those things. And most importantly, if you are interested in any private work, whether it be tarot or astrology, or if you have a question, please just contact me through the website. I would love to hear from you. Take care, and until we meet again, happy readings.